Hello everyone, just trying to adjust my camera. Welcome to the first episode of, sorry about that. Welcome to the first episode of Exploring Genuine Transformation. This is the beginning of a series that I will be doing weekly with all kinds of coaches and healers and thought leaders in the field of transformation, awakening, and healing, and freedom. And so this is our very first series, and I want to just first start by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Lori Beth Goldman. I go by Lori Beth on Facebook. I've been a licensed therapist for 10 years, and I'm a coach and a healer, and also have a very long history of practicing and studying awareness and mindfulness practices, both in Theravadan and Tibetan Buddhism, and other spiritual traditions. And I am... my greatest passion as a coach and a healer is to support others in experiencing freedom, peace, and love and compassion in all of who they are, to be more of themselves and to help them sit in the fire of the intense energies and emotions, of any intense energies and emotions that come up, in order to know true freedom. And to wake up out of this haze and story and idea and identification and drop down into the body and into the awareness that is always present. So this series is it's exactly what I've been doing my entire life. I have been acutely aware of sufferings as far back as I remember, and it's very clear that I came here to learn freedom and transformation, and that was what my life journey has been about. And I struggled for many, many, many years because I fought and resisted that, and I just wanted what I wanted in life. And so what I'm really most interested in exploring in this series, and the coaches and healers that will be on this series, are those that are really exploring the edge of what it is to be truly free, what it is to truly transform for the sake of transformation and healing, and also for the sake of healing the collective energies that need healing on the planet. So that said, this first episode is going to be with Nina Camille, and I'm going to invite her in now, and we will be talking about the topic of stop manifesting and allow true freedom. So here she comes. Let's see. How do I invite you? Technology. I see the camera. No. Let's see. Sorry about this. This is my first time doing this. Wondering how I can get you on. All right. Yay! We did it. Okay, thanks for everybody's patience. So I want to just introduce Nina. I'm so happy to have you on the show and for you to be my first guest. I know Nina because, from the online world, but also I had the privilege of having her coach me as a guest coach for a business coaching program that I was in. And just immediately in being in Nina's presence, and just what she reflected back to me and the way she saw me, it just penetrated me to my heart and to my core.
Mm.
And I felt just so much. I mean, to me, that's such a big piece of transformational work that we do, is just that deep witness and that deep knowing. And it just like, it was a game changer just in like 5 minutes, seriously. So I'm so happy to have you on the show. And I love what Nina is doing in the world. She will share more with you, but I just wanted to just introduce her to say that she offers a program called Experience Freedom. So her entire work centers around freedom, centers around the topic of transformation for the sake of freedom, and all the different ways that you can live your life in that way. And today she's going to be talking about manifestation, and she's going to be sharing, from the perspective of the work that she does and how she sees manifestation in her own life journey, about what's important about that and what it may also be missing. We tend to, I'm particularly excited about this topic because, as I've entered into the coaching world, the online world, it feels to me like, and especially this is actually in contrast to therapy, which is sort of has the opposite ethos, but there's so much emphasis on manifesting what you want, like money, career, and relationship, and that is going to bring you happiness. And I think the conversation today will really, and that will bring you freedom, that will bring you peace, like somehow when you get what you want. So this conversation is like really dear to my heart because this is a conversation about, how we can, like, what does it truly mean to be happy? What does it truly mean to be free? And does that actually have to do with manifesting what we think we want? Or is there something greater that is actually there for us to tap into? So welcome, Nina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what I'd like to start out with is I want Nina to give us I know more about her work, but for our viewers, for everybody to learn more about her work and kind of the context at which she's coming to this conversation from. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I run a program called Experience Freedom, and it's a container in which I take a group of curated individuals who are committed to this work, committed to opening and learning what true, genuine freedom means when it's an actual lifestyle. So it's centered around opening and awakening and healing our trauma and going to all of the places in order to live a purposeful life, which really, for me, just means being who we really are. So, I've developed this formula that has worked really powerfully for me and for all of my clients. And now I offer it in a group container and I do retreats as well. And the topic of manifestation and what we want to create for ourselves is so, so prevalent in the coaching world. And there's like so many 5 steps to manifestation or 10 steps to manifesting anything that you want. And when you and I connected, and I kind of talked a little bit about wanting to blow the lid off of that, and it just sparked a really beautiful conversation. So I'm excited to share more about that with everybody watching today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that background. And yeah, really inspired by the work that you're doing with clients, and so lucky that people are, getting to come to you and experience freedom on all levels. And so I think my first question around manifestation would be, I'm curious, like, if you could tell me a little bit about how you see manifestation, also how you see it kind of showing up in your work, and how that relates to freedom and transformation.
Sure. So, the piece of what is taught about manifestation that I really like is the piece where we need to become a vibrational match to what it is that we want from the inside out. And so that part I really enjoy and really love. However, for some of us who have played this game for a long time and gotten really good at, the abundance piece or the getting what we think we want out of life. So a really good boyfriend and a fancy apartment and a cool job and dope friends and travel and all of those things. You can be a master manifester and still get all the stuff you think you want and then feel completely empty. And that's kind of what happened with me. So, when I was in my mid-20s, I had all the things I thought I wanted. I had all the ingredients of what I had thought at that point was a perfect life. And yet here I was totally miserable, and it was no one's fault. Nothing was wrong. I just didn't feel fulfilled. And it's because I wasn't really being who I was. And so while I was manifesting, it was empty and it left so much to be desired, and I didn't feel free at all because the person who I thought I needed to be in order to fit into all the things that I had created for myself wasn't what my full truth was. It wasn't who I really, really was on the inside. So now that I'm a teacher of this work and I'm looking around and I'm noticing a lot of manifestation talks, the thing that I see that's massively missing is the place from which we're manifesting. And so a lot of people are coming to me like, oh, I want this thing, but why? Why do we want anything? We only want anything because of the way that we think it will make us feel, whether that's more free or more purposeful or happier or whatever it is. The only reason we would want to manifest anything ever is because we want to change the way that we feel. And so if we're manifesting from that ego-based desire place, I want money, I want attention, I want notoriety, whatever it might be, then we're kind of missing the point, because what we really want, that fulfilled, purposeful life journey that's expansive and real and raw, it's deeper than just getting the things that we want out of life. And so being someone who was like a master manifester, and I still like to play in that field sometimes. And I use the word play very intentionally because that's what it is to me. I'm not manifesting the life of my dreams. I created it, but not because I had a Pinterest board and I said my affirmations 50 times a day. It's because I cleared all of the trauma that was necessary in order to be who I really am and feel safe expressing myself and being free in the world. Now I get to be the expansive version of me that is meant to be here. And if I really want a fancy car and that's just not in my path, I won't get it, manifesting or not. So yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's talked about so widespread as though you can just plant this 5-step process onto anyone and they can get anything they ever want. And there's a bigger plan for us. And so I want whoever's watching or people to understand manifestation in a deeper sense, where it's really just a reflection. That's all it ever is. A manifestation by definition is nothing more than a physical representation. It's a manifestation. It's what's manifested. And so it's not actually like this witchy trick that people seem to think it is. It's just the reflection, and that's it.
I love that. And I also love that, like, this idea that sure, you could manifest this reflection of yourself, but where are we manifesting from? Like, so often we're manifesting from our conditioning. We're manifesting from, this idea of what we think we want, like you said, that's going to bring us happiness, that's going to bring us peace. And then, I think what I see again and again, and I've seen in my own life, that sometimes then when the thing comes that I really wanted, if I'm not, like, if it wasn't coming from the right place, first of all, sometimes I won't enjoy it. But also, if I'm not actually available to, and I'm not free, to use your word, right, to actually enjoy it and actually feel intimate with it, then it doesn't even really matter that it's there anyway. So that's another kind of angle on it that I definitely see.
Absolutely. If you really want a partner that looks, that plays the role of what you were taught to want when you were young, especially as women, we need this type of man, we need this type of home, we need this type of job. And men have it too on the other side. They need this type of woman in order to be successful, and they need this amount of money, etc. And even when we get it, we realized that that might not even be what we want at all. It's just our parents wanted that for us because they wanted us to be safe, or we were told that this is what this meant, and now we have it, and we are wondering why we wanted it in the first place. And along with that sometimes comes guilt and confusion. And, you know, for me, there was so much lack of clarity around why I wasn't happy when I had all the things that I wanted to make me happy, because I didn't have the tools at the time to understand that that wasn't actually who I was. And it wasn't me who wanted those things. It was the part of me that thought I would be safe if I got them. And that was taught, or it was, you know, sparked through my traumatic experiences as a child and the ideas of what I thought I needed in order to be safe. And the other thing is, if we're manifesting from that place, I'll get this thing and then I'll be safe, and we're on this path of awakening, those things will guaranteed fail us. They will go away because we don't get to place our safety outside of us and then depend on it. It has to fail so that we can learn that safety comes from within, that we're inherently safe, that we're eternal consciousness beings of light. We're not this body anyway. So every single time we get the thing we think we want, it will go away if we're attached to it in that way. And so if you get too lost in this game of manifestation, especially if you're good at it, you can end up just constantly bringing in things you think you want and always feeling empty and thinking that there's something wrong with you when there isn't. Those things are meant to fail. Love is loving you by allowing them to fail so that you can learn what's really true for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I get the chills when you say that. And it really brings in another part. I mean, I have some more questions for you, but it also brings in this part that we had talked about before, which is that like I have had such a different experience in life where I was not really good at manifesting the things that I wanted and suffered. Like I was acutely aware of suffering from such a young age. And exactly what you just said about, you know, that like, sort of like the process of failing actually brings more freedom. And that's really where I am sitting today, which is like, oh, thank goodness I didn't get all these things. Thank goodness I couldn't create them, because I have more and more of me, and I'm actually able to, I mean, what I'm finding more and more is that I feel freedom more and more in any condition, in any circumstances, and I'm far less attached and identified to who I am. Now, granted, I had a very similar journey to you because I actually, you know, I was quite identified and I really wanted those things and I really believed still that they would bring me happiness. But what I'm also finding is that some of the things that I've really wanted that have come in, like I wanted a partner for 10 years and now I have one, for example. It's like I can enjoy it even more, and I'm also feel okay if it goes away. So there's more freedom for me, and I feel more in alignment to the truth because I'm like, okay, like here we are together, we're walking this path, but if this at some point is not the path, you know, for both of us, if it's not in alignment to the truth of who we are and what we're here to do on the planet and how we're here to contribute and, you know, sort of like walk together, then I feel okay separating. And that really has, you know, come from a very similar journey to yours, but sort of starting from a different place. So yeah, I love that part of this conversation.
Absolutely. You know, the people I encounter who experience the deepest levels of freedom are usually the people who have had everything they were attached to, like ripped from their death grip. And that's how it was for me. I've been in, you know, relationships where I was so attached to the other person. And then when they left, I thought I died because I couldn't fathom a world without them. And in the healing of that type of attachment and being able to be with myself and really trust myself, I actually get to love with open hands now. And I get to invite whatever it is that I want to experience, and also know that if it all burns and goes away in a moment, I'm actually still good.
Yeah.
So just like you said, like sitting in your own fire, those are the people who are free. People who have been through the fire and who are willing to keep choosing the truth. What's really true for me in this moment. And in order to do that, you have to let go of most everything you thought you ever wanted at some point. Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it just keeps helping me reflect like what you're sharing. You know, I think for some people it is that kind of like, you know, you get what you want and then it gets ripped away. And then in my case, and I know a lot of other people like this, it's also like through a lot of absence and disappointment and not having what you want. You know, that's where the freedom also can come from. But I think what strikes me in this conversation is just like we can have such different life experiences, but also I really believe, and I think you do too, that since I've talked with you before, but just that if we're wired for that kind of freedom, like if we came here to contribute something around that and for our own awakening, the awakening of others in the planet in this way, then life is going to give us the exact experiences that we need in order to be able to, you know, in order to be able to learn those lessons, in order to be able to be more free and to be able to, like you use these beautiful words where you talk about, you know, like love is doing this for us. Like that's why it's happening. So, I did have another question that keeps kind of coming up as we've been in this conversation, which is, I'm really curious just for sort of those people listening who, and sort of when you talk about sort of something, being here for something bigger or for awakening, and yeah, what do you mean by that? And how do you work with people around that? Like even this concept of, I mean, I know what I feel in my own body, in my own being, but even the concept of knowing what's true and that truth coming from kind of a bigger place, even if it's moment to moment, you know, but that being, you know, not some like absolute truth, but sort of what's the process of even getting there, kind of knowing what that is.
Yeah, well, there are a team of people down here, Team Oneness or Team Atonement, you know, Team Awakening, whatever you call them. But there are a lot of really, really deeply sensitive beings, and I happen to be one of them. And as I've been on this path and just continued to open and to open and to open and to open and to see what's really true, you know, part of what my passion and being here and being an example of freedom and what it looks like and what's possible and being in this work and my commitment to it is being dedicated to that above anything else. So, you know, my commitment, number one, is to oneness, is to helping the people who are down here remember what's true for us together, because we don't get to go home unless we all go home. So any single person who's carrying trauma anywhere on the planet, it's ours. It's our trauma. Every single piece of pain, every ounce of dirt is our dirt. It's together. And that's the place from which I operate, because I've felt so deeply since I was a child that when I got into this work, nothing made more sense of why I was feeling everything in the way that I was. And I didn't always have the experience and the external to match what it was that I was receiving and what I was experiencing internally. And so being in this work allowed me to really understand my place in the oneness, and that my work here is to be a conduit of that, to be a reminder, to show people how connected we are, that it's not just like a fluffy thing that people put on a bumper sticker, that you can actually live and operate from a place of oneness. And when you do, it makes your life totally different and much more graceful. It's not going to be easy all the time. Mine sure as shit is not easy all the time, but I'm also hugely rewarded for the depth of work that I do. And so is everyone else in whatever ways they need to be rewarded in order to further their work here. Just like you said, you know, we get everything we need to be, you know, our personal brand or conduit for awakening. And every single person is doing that right now, whether they know it or not. Even the people who trigger us the most, you know, they're here to awaken us, you know, especially those people. And so, yeah, for me, being in this work is so that we can all go home together, so we can all remember what's really true, that we're eternal, that we're consciousness, that you're not just this body. And it's a place of play and of remembering and of healing, and that we can actually live in that place and still have a human experience and be fully in the human experience while keeping our attention on what's really true, what's bigger and what's deeper and timeless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So that last piece, I'm just gonna, and we'll probably end after this, but that last piece that you just said, I'm really curious if you can give our listeners a sort of step by step of, like what I'm hearing is it's like you have a commitment to this kind of larger goal, and so you're always, I'm guessing, asking the question, right, of like, okay, what is in the highest good, or what is in the highest good of freedom and the collective awakening, but also and being with all the energies and all the emotions that you're feeling moment to moment. And so if you were to kind of give our listeners even just a little tad bit of a sample of like the work you do with people around how to access that, even moment to moment, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's a longer process than like a 5-minute
Mm-hmm.
summary.
Mm-hmm.
And for me and the way that I hold people, and it really stems from the way that I've held myself, is that alignment comes first above everything. Is that I need to take care of myself, my body, uh, over anything else in the world that needs to happen. I don't get to be who I'm meant to be if my vessel isn't properly cared for. So my self-care and my alignment is absolutely everything, because from that place of alignment, which just means access to the truth, so I feel good, my needs are met, I feel safe in the world, that's when we start to open. And usually those are the places where we get to see what's there when we open. And for most of us, it's a tremendous amount of trauma because we're humans.
Yeah.
And so doing the deep work, releasing trauma from the body, and having a space holder and someone who's really qualified to hold all of you and keep their attention on what's true.
Yeah.
That for me is really where we're able to see the truth and trust it. It takes practice and devotion. And I use that word devotion intentionally because it's like an all day, every day type of thing where I might be triggered by something small and it's immediately like, all right, what is it that I am being asked to look at here? And myself first. What needs to be healed? What would love do? What's actually true for me right now? Does this have anything to do with this external moment? Or is this what I'm carrying? And now I'm being asked to move through it on my own. Because a lot of the work that I actually do in service is through myself. I love serving clients and holding space for others, but first and foremost, my commitment to this work is my commitment to this work, because I don't have any codes if I don't open and discover them on my own. So that level of devotion is like every morning when I wake up, and like 900 times during the day, and every night before I go to bed, and noticing when I've veered off, and then, okay, what's true for me? Okay, cool. So it's a constant recentering and a constant release of the noise and a refocusing on what feels true for me. And the way in which I articulate it might not resonate with everyone, but everyone has a place where their truth lives and what feels really resonant for them. And that's the thing that you're asked to turn back to, is the piece of you that goes, oh, that makes sense to me, like nothing else has. Like those are the moments to follow and to continue to devote yourself to, and to recreate, and to, let those be a magnet.
Wow, I love that so much. And I love hearing how you do that. I have my own version of how I align, but just I'm learning so much from you, listening. And, especially this kind of, I similarly kind of go into the body and meditate a lot, and, find my own way through these energies, through sitting in the fire of them, like I said at the beginning. And I love I love also just the questions that you're asking, like, what would love do? That really spoke to me, and I'm sure it spoke to many other people. And the other thing that I'm hearing, and I'm guessing that this is one of the things you may do in your program, is you have your language, but then you are helping others to really find what is true for them. So I love that you said that, right? Because it's like we each resonate in different ways. And, I know that in the work that I do, and I think it's similar for you, that we're always trying to support each of our clients to find their own unique healing medicine, their own unique sense of alignment, but, being, like you said, a vessel for that, and a real, an ally for that, and really holding the space for, so that people are finding their own way through and their own way of the truth. So yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
because
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because, we're not here to, you know, you're healed, you're healed, you're healed. It's
Yeah.
no, this is how you hold space for yourself and your own transformation and your own healing. Receive your own codes, integrate your own work, find your own language and your own message and your own resonance, and then go give it away. Because the first thing that happens when you start tasting these like next levels of freedom and you see it working, especially for me, and I know there are so many people who are watching this who have hearts of service, the moment they figure out something, it's like, oh, I need to give this away. I need to share it. People need to know. And so, what we're creating is like a band of healers and people who are able to hold space for transformation for themselves first and for the people around them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's so much, I mean, in my experience, and I think is so much of doing that is also working with different healers and coaches that we resonate with, and then doing kind of a, weaving them through, because in my experience, some of the really deep trauma, like really needs the support of of another person who's helping us to slow down and really rewire our nervous systems and heal from the
Absolutely.
places where, there's a lot of overwhelm and there's a lot of just wanting to distract and go away. So,
yeah. No trauma work on my end has been completed alone.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Most of mine has been done in groups with Zachariah, my mentor, best friend, teacher, healer. He's all the things.
Who will be on the show next week?
Yay, Z! Yeah, he's my buddy in awakening, and a lot of what I've created stems from what I've learned from him and my own integration of what he's taught me and all the other people that I've paid to hold space for me and friends that have done it. And
yeah.
I think it's so beautiful to watch how it comes out of each one of us so differently.
Yeah.
And it's just, it really is like this bouquet that I love to witness.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the reasons, I'm just going to end by saying, and then give you a chance to talk about your program, but just by saying that, actually, I didn't say this at the beginning, but one of the reasons that I'm particularly excited about doing this interview series is because as I've entered into this more online world from being a therapist, I have been tracking different coaches and healers on here that I just am so turned on by their work. And so I'm so excited to have this opportunity to be able to interview them and learn from them and like weave all of our different bodies of work together and really create a like allyship on this path like you've been talking about. So thank you for being the first one. So yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation and everything that you shared, and I would love for people to know how to get in contact with you and learn more about your program. I think you might have an upcoming program that's open right now. Is that true?
I do. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm tagged in this post and I respond to every comment and message ever thrown my way. I'm in Greece right now, so it might take me a little bit. You can also find me on Instagram. I share a lot there on my story as well, probably more than I do on Facebook. And my handle is at It's Nina Camille, ITSNINA Camille. And I am currently launching a round of my program, Experience Freedom. It starts in September. Oh, thank you for joining, Don. I'm so glad you were here. So I have 2 spaces left. So it filled really quickly and we're 3 months out. But I start coaching with people right away if they sign up early. So if there's anything that I shared that really resonates and you're interested, I do epic retreats along with my group work because it's part of what I love to offer people and the play that I am here to just be. So I'm really calling in a few more men. So I have 7 incredible women signed up right now. My container is co-ed for a reason, and it's really powerful in that way. And it's pretty unique what I've created. So if you're a man or a woman, I would love to chat with you, and you can just send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I can like so highly recommend Nina's work and Nina's program. I've totally had this like, oh, I want to do that at some point because I just know that the work that you do and the container you hold is just like people experience massive transformation and freedom. So thank you so much for being on the show. And I just wanted to also say that I introduced myself at the beginning of the show, but I'll reintroduce myself because I may be new to some of you. My name is Lori Beth Goldman. I go by Lori Beth on Facebook. And I have been a licensed therapist for many years and am a coach and a healer. And right now I'm offering one-on-one program. I'm offering one-on-one containers, and we'll be launching a group program in September. And the work that I do is, in some ways, very similar to Nina's, and it's really about healing and clearing trauma and blocks. And I do a lot of somatic work and attachment-based work, and do a lot of work around awareness and intimacy, and just really holding you in a strong container to heal for the sake of experiencing more of yourself and experiencing true freedom and true transformation that allows you to be way more intimate with life and really enjoy everything that comes your way and create the things that come kind of as a byproduct of you being you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Nina. And please tune in again next week. The show will normally be at 1 p.m. And I will be posting that. Nina's in Greece, so we were doing it at a different time. And next week we have her, mentor and very close friend, Zachariah, who is an incredible human doing incredible healing work. So happy that he's going to be coming on the show. So tune in for that. Okay, thank you everyone for watching. Bye.
Bye.